Yes. So, well, hi,
Hi,
welcome.
thank you.
Thank you for uh, accepting my invitation to talk together about the mudras and about Jin Shin Jyutsu and how they are related to Jin Shin Jyutsu. Um, we have agreed to do some calls together where we are going to talk about the mudras and about Jin Shin Jyutsu. And well, we decided also to invite people to ask questions.
Yes, I think that would be great fun for us to do this.
Yes, so I'm very happy to share this time with you, and so for everybody else, you can just ask your questions, and we will start a conversation about it. And well, Carlyse will share her wisdom about it with us. So thank you. For the moment, I wanted to, of course, to introduce you because not everybody knows you yet. And I wanted to know something about who you are and your history with Jin Shin Jyutsu. So please, can you share something about that?
I, I absolutely I can do that. I'm never quite sure what might be of interest for people, so I will try to keep it short. And I do love stories, even my own stories. I have been very fortunate in being able to live in a number of different places around the world. And over that time, really have considered myself part of the whole world because that has always been my experience. I don't know what it is to live in just one place and see things through the eyes of one culture. So for me, my life has really been a story of travel and exploration, and it has really encouraged my own curiosity about everything having to do with this amazing place we find ourselves in, this world of ours, and all of the people that are in it. I Having been through all of these different places that I've lived, I now find myself living in England, in the UK. I was born and raised in Venezuela to American parents, so I'm in that wonderful position of having dual citizenship of both the USA and the UK. And I've been here now for about 35 years, so quite some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could say that's a little bit home.
It is, and the world itself is my home.
Yes.
Wherever I am in it, that is really my home. And this one here has been my home for quite some time.
Yeah.
What in terms of my introduction to Jin Shin Jyutsu, I was actually introduced to Jin Shin Jyutsu back in 1980. My brother introduced me to it. And
Okay.
he had been to a couple of self-help classes, and he'd attended his first 5-day class, really just a complete novice, didn't know anything really at all about Jin Shin Jyutsu, other than his teacher, Mary Burmeister, had said to him, put your hands using these sequences, and as much as possible, do nothing. So, of course, he comes to me as his sister and he says, I'm learning this. Can I try it out on you? And being a good sister, I just said, yes, of course you can. And I then experienced my very first Jin Shin Jyutsu session. And I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And I spent the next several years exploring Jin Shin Jyutsu through receiving sessions from him and through self-help. And years later, I'm asking him lots and lots of questions all along the way. And every time I ask him questions, he says to me, go to a 5-day class. There you will find the answer to these questions you are asking. And I would put it off and put it off. And then suddenly I find myself living in England, and lo and behold, there is a 5-day class that is happening in London. And now that 5-day class looks very attractive because my brother is now an ocean away from where I live. And so I go to the 5-day class, and that began really a different kind of engagement with Jin Shin Jyutsu for me, opening me up to a lot of different perspectives, taking classes with a lot of different instructors. And I didn't have any intentions when I went to the class. I had no intention of becoming a practitioner. Some 5 years later, students are asking me, Carlyse, are you a practitioner? And I'm like, no, I'm not a practitioner. I just see friends, family, and people who are referred to me. And about the 4th time I heard myself say this, I thought, Carlyse, really? That is what a practitioner does.
Yeah.
You have to accept you are a practitioner. So I did. And then I found myself in a situation where I have such a deep love of the self-help. I really wanted to share that with other people. So then I found myself presenting self-help classes.
Yeah.
Things changed completely in my life, and the organizer in the UK for several years had been saying to the community, I really would like to step back. I want someone else to come forward to organize the classes. And with this change in my lifestyle, moving to part-time work, I was able to pick up the phone and say to her, things have changed for me. If you're still interested in stepping back, I'd be happy to begin organizing classes for Jin Shin Jyutsu in the UK. And so then I became an organizer. And after some years of being an organizer, lo and behold, I'm in a class and students are coming up to me and saying, are you an instructor? 4 times in one class, different students came up to me and said, are you an instructor? And it was like an echo from Mary's self-help books. Are you? Are you? Are you? They did not ask me, did I want to be? They did not ask me if I intended to. They did not ask me if I was studying to become. They, each one of them asked me, are you? And I knew that was a question I had to look at.
Yeah.
And within a few months, I had been accepted into a beautiful program that instructors of Jin Shin Jyutsu offer to help those of us prepare to become instructors. And I was given those opportunities to make presentations and to refine my presentation skills and to understand more about that give and take that happens in classes of Jin Shin Jyutsu. And then I began presenting the classes around the world, the 5-day classes, special topic classes, mentoring, and I continue to do that to this day. As well as the self-help classes, as well as the practice. It's much more present in my life now, in a very delightful and wonderful way.
Well,
and
beautiful.
All of it just seemed to happen without any intentions on my part.
Or effort, probably.
Well, I have to confess this, Marna, I put in a lot of effort to avoid certain things, like calling myself a practitioner.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was a lot of effort. I can look back on it and see how much effort was there.
Yeah.
So from time to time, I have been resisting the flow that Jin Shin Jyutsu just really opened up for me to move with this. And now I hope I'm less resistant to where that flow takes me. It doesn't always take me where I think it's going to.
No, that's that's the adventure of it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And did you have the joy to take classes with Mary?
I did not take classes with Mary. I did have the wonderful privilege of receiving some sessions from her over the years.
Oh,
Yeah, my brother who introduced me to Jin Shin Jyutsu is really one of the kindest people I know. And when I would go to visit him in Arizona, he had regular sessions with Mary. That time it was very difficult to get sessions with Mary. You booked them months in advance. And he would, when the occasion would arise, he would give me his session with Mary when
wow.
when I was in town.
Wow, that's indeed very sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. And well, we wanted to talk little bit about the mudras and Jin Shin Jyutsu and
Yes.
the relationship, yeah, between the mudras, or how do they relate to Jin Shin Jyutsu
Well,
in your?
there are a number of different ways that Jin Shin Jyutsu, for me, relate to the Jin Shin Jyutsu and the mudras relate. Um, One of these is these mudras, these hand positions and postures that we have. This is working with our hands. And Jin Shin Jyutsu is all about our touch. It is about using our hands. And our hands are these amazing sensors. They're packed with nerve endings. And so our hands we use to reach out, to connect with the world around us, to get information back, feedback from the world around us. And through the mudras, through the touch here, there is a sensory connection that is being made from myself to myself, so that these mudras are dynamic for completing the circuit so that I can learn to get to know myself. I can get information from within myself. That information becomes more accessible to me
Yeah.
as I use these mudras. And for me, of course, my connection with self-help, I have long understood that self-help is the foundation for the art of Jin Shin Jyutsu.
Yeah.
So having this as one of the tools available to us through our touch, the mudras have this very powerful connection to the entire art of Jin Shin Jyutsu. It gives us this opportunity to have that direct physical connection that opens up into a fuller knowing and understanding of myself.
Yeah. That's. Do you use them a lot?
I do. Well, I say a lot. I find myself, when my curiosity takes me there, I will spend time with some aspect of the art of Jin Shin Jyutsu.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a time when I became very curious about these mudras, and I started using them on a very regular basis, really daily exploring, what is this? How does it feel inside me? What do I experience changing within me? And then from time to time, remembering from the self-help book 3, oh yeah, I could see if that mudra will help me in this situation. Or from information from the classes, hearing that this is dynamic for anytime you're out walking or hiking, and trying it, seeing what happens when I'm out walking or hiking. And in that way, got to know these mudras. Now I find that my hands almost automatically know what to do. And there are certain mudras that in my day-to-day living, I use quite a lot. This one being one of them. I happen to live in an area that's very hilly. So if I go out for a walk around the block, I am going to be climbing a hill sooner or later. And it's very nice for me to do my walk, remembering this mudra, using this mudra through my walk. And I find that it really smooths my breathing. And my breath doesn't get as stressed when I'm climbing a hill. So there are things like that that I use. I also like to use the mudras whenever my thinking goes into overdrive, my mind just starts going. It's very persistent. The quality I experience is a mind that where my thoughts are all jagged edges. It's very uncomfortable thinking.
Yeah.
And when that happens, mudras become, these 8 mudras of Jin Shin Jyutsu become a part of what I do. I will sit, I will light candles, I will put on either some chanting or some Tibetan bowl playing, and I'll be listening to that while I'm doing these 8 mudras.
Yeah.
And as I'm doing those 8 mudras, what I find is then the quality of that mind changes. And instead of these very jagged edges to my thoughts, now my thoughts start to smooth out. They become more wave-like.
Yeah.
And in that place, then I'm able to go to sleep that night. I'm able to then move on.
Yeah.
And not get stuck in that place of an overactive mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I find them also very relaxing. And I'm going to put myself next to you. They are very relaxing to me also, and calming.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
And the other piece of the whole getting to know myself is to start to notice things like, well, when is it that my mind takes on that quality? When is it that my mind starts to go into overdrive? And recognize that, okay, there's certain situations in my life where that happens. Travel is one of them.
Yeah.
So I find myself using the mudras when I'm traveling.
Yeah. I do the same.
Yeah.
I do that a lot also. Especially in the airplanes and in trains, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anywhere that is agitating.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really calming when you do it I think in the plane. And it's also, for me, it also helps me to have less jet lag.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Anytime we can do that, reduce that agitation, because the mental agitation is as, or emotional agitation is as tiring as going out and running a marathon.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So important that that we understand all of the mudras individually or together as a unit really do help us anytime we're fatigued.
Yes.
Anytime, anywhere. And one of the signs in my life that I am definitely becoming more fatigued is when my senses diminish. So if my hearing becomes dull, if my eyesight becomes a little more out of focus, if foods don't taste as nice as they usually do, that's a clear sign to me that I am moving into fatigue. And I can then use these mudras to cleanse, to eliminate that fatigue, so that my senses can be clearer and contribute more to my full enjoyment of life.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful way to say it. It's true, of course, that it's a very beautiful tool to help us with our fatigue and to release fatigue.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's for now a beautiful conversation, and we will come back to it and talk a little bit, I think, about the story of the mudras. So in our next talk,
that would be great.
We do the story as you see it of the mudras, how there's a story in all 8 of them.
I would be delighted for us to have that conversation.
Yeah, thank you very much for now. And well, we see each other very soon.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure, Marna.
Thank you very much.